boys and girls and cats. So we're doing a review of dead trees because this is a haunted forest. So your haunted forest is filled with dead trees, spiky, snaky type of trees. Okay, and they'll also be casting Nido shadows and the moonlight and so forth and so on. So with that in mind, let me see if got so many damn files open. And that's not it. Maybe this is it. This is not it either. I want to show you an example. I'm trying to find it. Okay, here we go. Alright, so we're going to be doing moonlight and stuff, and then of course we want, texture error there, we want our moonlight to cast shadows of the trees on the ground and create Nido reflections and be spooky and stuff. So your trees should roughly be, I mean, these days there's like tree generators and plant generators, and they automatically make a lot of these things. And we even have some, I don't remember where it is, but in the content browser, you can find it. There are some actual pre-made trees. I'll see if I can find them later. They're buried in here somewhere. But they're like live trees, and live trees don't look that great as haunted forest stuff for what we're doing in our little theme, a little mini theme, which is kind of like Halloween and whatever. So you want more or less dead trees or leafless trees. And like I said, a lot of the software these days for gaming and movies and After Effects and television and all, there's automatic tree generators, and they make pretty good stuff. But sometimes when they have to do, you know, more of an interactive tree or something, and then they model it, like the man-eater tree in Harry Potter or whatever. We're going to do this similar thing. And if you make your tree really good, you don't have to make one tree. And if you make it like different enough on all four, well, three, on all sides, where you can put it at different angles, you can make one tree look like, you know, a whole forest by just rotating it and stuff like that. It does take some time to make a tree, but it is not hard. So we're going to get started on the trees. There's also a good bark that you can use that'll, you know, be good for the nighttime scene that we're doing. So to get started on your tree, you're going to start with a cylinder, and you don't need to worry about the bottom. We'll make it look like roots are coming out of it later, but you do need to add height segments to your cylinder. So we're going to say, like, I don't know, how about just match the bottom, 36. Okay, and you want to convert that into a polygon, so we'll go over here, click, and then you're going to go ahead, and pretty soon I'll do a review of rocks and skulls and sculpting and all kinds of different stuff that we can do for your little props along your little trail that will lead up to your house. But right now, let's go to our polygons tool. And so what you do to create your basic tree is you just do a lot of extrudes and slowly work it up to a point, and then you reuse that branch. So we're going to take this and we're going to extrude it up, and then extrude it a little bit. We're going to scale it slightly, and then we're going to extrude it a little bit more. Remember, you want to extrude on the polygon face, not the axes, so you'll have to adjust your camera so that you can, you know, get over there and get a polygon face and not accidentally like drag it around by the axes there. And then scale it down, and then even like rotate it in whatever direction you want it to flow in. Okay, and then you can stretch it out a little bit if you want. So if you just watch, you'll get the hang of it. So extrude, a section, kind of keep your eye on it, scale it down a little bit, extrude it again a little bit, rotate that extrude a little bit, push it over a little bit, and then just continue this process. Don't try to rush it. Otherwise people end up with these like stunted little, like finger trees that they don't look good. So you kind of have to slowly work your way towards your goal. So extrude it a little bit, rotate it a little bit, take your moving tool and push it a little bit. And we're going to slowly bring this to a like a jagged point. I just like to extrude a little teeny bit, and you don't have to scale it down every time either. But it kind of helps if you do a little teeny bit of a scaling. So we extrude, and this way will form like a knotted, twisted branch. We extrude, we scale, we extrude, we rotate to change the branch's direction. We get our moving tool and scooch it around. We extrude, we rotate, we scale it, and we keep going. Remember, we don't need to do the bottom yet. We'll do that very last. Okay, and we'll just keep working this one. And then I kind of have one already sort of done, so we can kind of like skip. I'm not gonna, bore you to death and make you watch like a whole episode. Tree building. So you extrude a little bit. You can use that opportunity to change directions. You can scooch it around a little bit, and then you can extrude it a little bit. And then maybe I'll scooch it back a little bit that way. Try not to get too angular here. We want to conceal. We want it to look somewhat rounded. And you gotta like take your time. You can't rush this. I mean, it's not hard stuff. It's pretty easy, actually. But if you rush it, you'll end up with like a sucky tree, basically. Instead of having a cool, like spooky haunted forest, you'll have a sucky, crappy haunted forest. Which kind of is contrary to what we need. Alright, so we're going to keep going. Just a little bit more, bear with me here. You can make some big leaps and bounds, like I just did. You can make some tiny ones. Rotate them around. And you notice I'm going to my shortcut tools right there. Like I said, you don't have to scale it each time, but it kind of helps. But when you start getting near the end, you kind of want to stretch that out a little bit. And scale it. All right, let's bring it to an end here. And I'll extrude it one more time. And then what you do is you just scale that to a sharp point. And so you got to gradually bring it up. You can't just rush that. All right, now once you get, I'll show you what to do. You can do, if you did like 2 of these, would be ideal. Okay, I'm not going to make you do another one. I'm just going to reuse this one. But ideally to do 2 of these that are different would be the way to go. So I'm going to copy paste this and sort of rotate it around. Don't worry about these seams that are going to form the nighttime and the fog and the texture of the bark and everything will hide, like I said, a lot of your flaws. And so you're going to want to like copy paste this, rotate it around. We're going to sculpt this tree a little bit. Try to keep them all like forming sort of a single trunk type of thing. And then to disguise it so it doesn't look so different or so similar, I mean, to make it look different, you can scale it a little bit, you can stretch it out, but you can also go and apply a bend deformer to it. And don't worry, we're going to like convert this all into a simple shape later. But you can like see, take the bend deformer and bend it different directions. You can even copy the deformer, paste the deformer, put 2 bend deformers in there. Like, you can really tweak it, okay? Like I said, having 2, I'm kind of losing my roundness there, so I'm kind of adjusting it a little bit. Having 2 branches to do this to that were different would be ideal. And then, you know, you can bend each branch. You don't have to do like the main part of the branch. You can just go to the end of the branch and make sure you're actually on the branch. Otherwise, it'll do what it just did. Move this around. I'm just randomly kind of like seeing which direction I can bend it in, alter it. Alright, you get it? Alright, so now what you do is you take that whole thing and you convert it all into polygons. So you want to go current state to object. It's gonna form a bunch of stuff here. Just take it all and do current state to object, so you end up with a bunch of polygons. And I have ones overlapping each other here, but it doesn't really matter. Take them all afterwards and do a connect plus delete. So basically it's one piece now. That'll be a lot easier to work with. And then you reuse this. Recycle, reuse is our motto. And we take it and we shrink it down and we twirl it. And we make this a branch. And we just, you know, find a good old-fashioned place to stick this into the tree there. Alright, I don't know why I'm speaking like that. Okay, here we go. So we're going to push this over, pull it over, push it over. I don't want to get it into that little spot right there. Alright, so there is another branch. Remember, you want to do this like on all sides, try to make it different. And then you keep, like I can take that and copy paste, I probably would copy paste it and then connect plus delete the combined version, and that's a new cluster for a new branch. Okay, so you keep combining things together. You can, you know, stretch them. You can, if you wanted to, you can, you know, alter this one and put like bend deformers on this one and like try to get like really distinct branches to change. Turn that into a current state to object and then use that entire thing as a smaller branch. Okay, so I scale that down and then find a place to stick. It gets a little hard at this point trying to get it all to come together, but try to find a nice area on one of the bigger branches to stick that. And you can, you know, screw around with the axes if you need to. Let's go to the end here and put it there. All right, so this, I'll probably just end it here and go to a finished tree. But the limited amount that I did do should give you the idea, and you just keep condensing it down, and adding, and try to keep the branches from, you know, banging into each other and stuff like that. And I could take all three of those now, copy paste it, and convert those three into a connect plus delete, a single piece. And so now that's a new cluster. I shrink, I shrink it down, I spin it around, and I can turn that into, you know, should I bother doing it? Yes, I guess I should. A new branch piece. For my dead tree, okay? All right. All right. Need to shrink that down, it was a little bit too big. And the reason that I still kept the originals is because I might not want to keep condensing it down because it gets harder to stick together. So I can still go back to the original, copy paste that, and just, you know, attach that somewhere, you know, so I can shrink that down. So I have parts to work with, you know, to stick on the end of this branch. It becomes a little hard to work with when you get all screwed with that. So I sometimes will take the axes as I'm doing this and just kind of straighten it out with my axes tool, and then it becomes a little bit easier to work with. My intention is to stick that into this branch here. More right there at the, there we go, good enough. All right, so you can see my tree's coming together nicely, and I have all these parts. Whoops. Be careful of not to have it coming through the other side like that. That is probably be impossible to conceal. And then later we'll do, we'll make the roots and stuff. So why don't we do a little bit of the roots? This isn't a finished tree. So a finished tree would be, it's just going to take too long. I don't want to have like an hour-long video, but a finished tree would be like how you have this many branches. And you can be more spiky if you want to be, and less bent and twisty, you know, so make sure you make it different on all sides so you can copy-paste the tree and make it look like a forest. You do not want all your trees to look like clones of each other and like copies, and then it looks really awkward, like, why are all the trees the same exact tree? You know, so you want to like fix that. So this tree isn't done. I would keep going and put branches all over it at different sides, like this one isn't finished, so it would just take me too long to keep doing that. But when I'm done, and you do fill it up with branches, like probably like twice to what I have here, okay? Twice to what I have here, so don't use this as a finished piece. This is like half finished, okay? I just don't want to do a video that's too long, but you would take all of these and you would go to connect plus delete, and then what you would do at the bottom part down here is you would turn that into a trunk. Now, there's just one tool that we need to do for that, and I'm forgetting where it is. So let me see if I can find it. Magnet. So it's under transform tools. We also have a sculpt, which will let us do like limited sculpting. Not as good as ZBrush, but we're not getting into ZBrush yet. So we'll do it later. We'll do some block modeling and then take it into ZBrush, and and then we'll do some characters in ZBrush, and we'll do a bunch of other things in ZBrush. But right now, I just want to we'll break into ZBrush with the limited sculpting tools here. This is nowhere near as good as ZBrush, but we can do some stuff with this. So we'll do that next on like a rock or a skull. But right now with Magnet, which is found under Transform Tools, Magnet, it gives you a tool which can be shrunk. Let's see, options. This tool, you can go to radius right here. I forgot where it was for a second because I'm 55. Right there, and shrink it. And then this circle, if you didn't want to have, if you needed it to be smaller to get a small area, or if you needed it to be larger or medium, you can, alter it. I think, whoops, let me redo that. I would want to save it at this state too, just before I condense it. I kind of undid it, just because you want a workable version. As soon as you go connect plus delete, that's it. You really can't edit it too much anymore. But let's go back to Transform Tools, Magnet. And with Magnet, you have a radius. It'll probably be 100. So like I said, you can screw around with that if you need to. But now what you do is we go down here to the bottom here and we start pulling it out to make it look like it has like roots going into the ground. And we can also smooth out a few of these bumpy sections where there's some hard creases, and we can twist it up and make it more lumpy too. A lumpy, bumpy tree is way more spooky than a nice smooth one. And then you look at it from different angles and pull out those root areas. And, like I said, you got to do it on all sides of the tree. Like, how much do you want to do of this? I'd probably pull out like 5 or 6 roots, like kind of a star shape. And then if you notice, I went down to a smaller tool. I'll go back up to a larger tool. If your tool's too small, it'll end up making a lot of weird creases, and you probably won't like the end result. Alright, what else can we like sculpt on this? Well, you can go in there and smoothen up, like I said, hard edges. We can take the whole tree and make a more higher resolution mesh. So we could go to Select Our Polygons tool and grab the tree and then just do a select all, and it'll get all the polygons. And then you have a tool under mesh called Command Subdivide, which will add more polygons to it. And you can subdivide it a couple of times. I don't want to do it too many times, but you can go and subdivide, Command Subdivide, and you can see it'll double up the polygons. And make sure you save it, because it's going to get very processor RAM consuming beast. And then you can just keep doing transform. You got to be on your points tool, by the way. Commands, transform. Sorry, I'm doing this so many times. Magnet. Okay. And then You just want to go really slow. It's not going to go fast for you at all at this stage. I probably, and you see, like, I'm trying to get this other one, but it's hitting that branch. So you got to adjust your view so that your branches aren't in the way. That's the downside. Okay, I probably would not have converted into this high of a mesh. In ZBrush, you can simplify things like this. In Cinema, it's a little bit harder. I'm going to actually undo that and take it back. I think I probably added too many polygons to it. There we go. So we'll go back to this stage. That's a little, it still has more, and it's a little bit easier to manipulate. All right. You can even like go to the edge and, you know, bend it, and when you sculpt it, you can bend the tree itself. So if you have any branches that are looking too identical, all right, and you can end up with a really nice tree. Let's take it off Grouch Shading and Line so we get to see the tree. All right, and then as far as the texture goes, just make let's just use a Prime Materials basic called Bark, nothing fancy. Throw that on there. It's going to stretch out on anything you extruded, as we know that it'll do. And all you have to do is just go take it, put it on Cubic or something. Like I said, most of the flaws are going to be concealed, and you're not going to really see any areas where it's like, you know, like the bark is kind of like tiling in there, like right there you can kind of see a seam. It'll be nighttime with the moon and the fog. And there's our dead tree. Now, like I said, this doesn't have enough branches. You need to put twice the amount of branches that I did, but you make one, you make two, you copy paste those, and then you put them on there, and then you copy paste 4, and then you put them on there, and then you copy paste 8, and you keep making these little clusters like I did, and pretty soon you have a really good tree. You just have to take your time. If you get lazy and you start rushing through this, you're going to end up with like an awful tree. This only really works if you take your time, and we don't have a plant generator, so we kind of have to make our tree. And this is a quick and easy way to make a nice dead tree. You're not, you know, like I did that in 20 minutes. I think around 20 minutes. Anyways, instead of taking like a lot longer to do. Okay, so there you go, tree. Remember, you can do different types of trees. Spiky tree. You can do one with less branches if it's laying on the ground, you know, like a dead tree that fell over. You know, that kind of stuff. Anyways, I'll see you in class.